and it made me willing to try new drugs. We walked away from this particular drug dealer because he didn't have weed, so we found ourselves with dust. I think they call it angel dust. And we walked away with a joint of angel dust. He said, hey, he kind of gave us the whole rationale, the spiel about how, hey, one of these is going to do way more than a bag of weed. And being young kids, no more than 11, 12, we decided that, okay, let's give it a try. And I need to tell you that it was a crazy high. It was a crazy high, and I remember walking through my neighborhood, past my mother's house, high on this drug, and the disease continued to progress. It continued to have me make decisions such as that, and at the same time, I was moving into other areas of behavior. Criminal behavior became the norm. To break a window, jump out of a taxi cab, to rob somebody or another kid, or I was turning into the same guy that I didn't like initially. The transformation, the metamorphosis was beginning to take place, and I need to say by the time I reached 16, I was getting high every day. It got to the point where I stayed out of school for 3 months straight, but I was in school. I was in school, and all we were doing was getting high, gambling, and eating lunch. Funny deal. We hung out in the bathrooms and got high all morning long. We stayed in the lunchrooms from 4 to 6, and this is one of the most prestigious schools in Brooklyn. Actually, I dropped out in the 10th grade, went to another whole state to try to regain my composure, but everywhere I went, I took me with me. And by this time, my momentum and my whole mode of living was in full flare and in prestige premium style. I need to say that I realized that things were moving rapidly in the wrong direction when I found myself incarcerated. We were in another state, again another state. My disease takes the show on the road, and we were there in a whole nother place where I didn't know anyone. I'm a basic drug addict at this particular point. When I say that, I'm a garbage head. I'm smoking weed, I'm sniffing coke, drinking whatever kind of liquor that there is available. Wine, didn't matter. By this time, 40 ounces. I realized that things had gotten bad when I wound up in this prison at age 18, and standing before the judge, actually in this particular state, it wasn't a judge, it was called something else, it was a Commonwealth state. But I heard him say my name, and then he said a whole bunch of years afterwards. 7 to 14, 7 to 14, 7 to 14, and I need to tell you that I was flabbergasted. I was at a loss for words when I saw the reality of what was taking place in my life then, and actually that everything I loved was about to be placed in jeopardy. It was being threatened by this thing called, getting high and socializing and the lifestyle, if you will. I'm always apprehensive about saying lifestyle because it actually seemed to be, as I matured in life, more like the death style. It seemed to be killing things as opposed to giving life to things. So I actually tried to escape once again when I got released from jail through the efforts of other folks who had mercy and for whatever reason thought that I was worth it. My mother, a couple of uncles who came to my rescue. I think the NAACP got involved. It was an all-out effort, and I was grateful. I need to say that I kissed the ground when I got out, and I vowed that I wasn't going to go that deep, that far anymore. Well, the saga continues. I actually found myself joining the military, and again, everywhere I go, I take me with me. And it wasn't a problem finding other individuals who were just like me. You know, they could recognize me from afar. I was in basic training, and one of the sergeants decided to, I guess, identify with me and say, "Hey, I got weed," and I robbed him. He thought I was going to buy it, and I stole it, and he couldn't tell. It's truly a rapid-paced story that I lived. I got in trouble in the military. They offered to put me out at that time, and I rejected that offer. Actually, because where was I going to go? So I continued through, and I realized things were getting a little worse when I was leaving drugs out in my room. I had bags of drugs and weed under my bed, and I would come home the next day and be shocked at how reckless I was becoming. You know, how out of control things were becoming. I need to say that as things progressed, I found myself trying to live this dual life. I was a soldier by day, and I was a drug dealer and a drug addict by night. Actually, I had rationalized and coined the phrase that I was a drug dealer with a habit as opposed to a drug addict with a problem. And that kept me going for a long time. You know, I had a little charisma, I had a little ability to express myself in a certain fashion that seemed to catch people's attention, and folks who usually responded pretty well to me. I actually began to glorify the fact that I was living this Superman Clark Kent life. You know, during the day doing one thing, and at night the whole other image took place, and the whole metamorphosis, the Superman change, or the dumb man change. You know, so I took a lot of. I got married. Wow, that's a funny one. I got married early, but I need to say that my abilities to handle relationships had been somewhat compromised as a result of indulging in nothing but self-centered behavior, as far as using drugs, partying all the time, being self-centered, self-serving in all areas of my life, and actually inconsiderate to anything else that wasn't helping me get more of what I wanted. I actually